Welcome back, Warner fam. Today I'll be recapping a horror drama film, Pearl, so keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The movie starts 1918 in Texas, and the world is a mess. The Spanish flu is spreading fast, and World War I is raging on, but none of that seems to matter to Pearl, a young woman with big dreams and a dark side. She dances alone in her room, lost in her own world, until her strict, abusive mother, Ruth, barges in. Ruth yells at Pearl to stop being silly and do her chores, but Pearl's life isn't just about housework. She also has to take care of her father, who can't move and needs help every day. Later, Pearl heads to the barn to feed the cows and horses. While she's out there, a goose stumbles into the barn, and without hesitation, Pearl grabs a pitchfork and stabs it. It's just another sign that Pearl's world is not as sweet as it seems. After the kill, she heads to the lake, where she meets Theta, an alligator, and feeds it the goose like it's a snack. Pearl's dark side is starting to show, and this is only the beginning of her twisted journey. Pearl has big dreams. She doesn't want to stay stuck on the farm forever. She dreams of becoming a star, imagining herself on big stages and in movies. But there's a problem. She's married to Howard, who is away fighting in the war. Even though Howard is gone, Pearl still holds on to her dreams. Her mother, Ruth, however, isn't supportive. She doesn't want Pearl to chase those dreams and keeps telling her to stay put and do what she's always done. Ruth believes Pearl should just stay on the farm, take care of the house, and forget about her big ambitions. But Pearl's heart is set on something more. Pearl hops on her bike and rides into town, excited to visit the movie theater. After the show, she meets a charming and handsome man, the projectionist. They talk for a little while, and Pearl shares a bit about herself. The projectionist gives her a small piece of film, telling her that he can fix it if it gets ruined. Pearl can't help but feel drawn to him, and she starts to have a crush on him. As she rides her bike back home, she notices the film piece slipping out of her pocket. It flies away and gets lost in a cornfield. Pearl desperately searches for it, but what she finds instead is even stranger: a scarecrow standing alone in the field. In a strange moment of frustration, Pearl climbs up, cuts the scarecrow down, and starts kissing it. She pretends it's the projectionist, her heart full of longing. But then, in a burst of anger and confusion, she yells at the scarecrow, reminding herself that she is already married. It's a strange mix of desire and guilt that starts to take over her mind. One day, Pearl's wealthy sister-in-law, Mitzi, visits the farm with her mother. They bring a suckling pig as a gift for Ruth, but Ruth, in her pride, refuses it and leaves it outside. She doesn't want to accept charity from anyone. While Pearl watches, Mitzi casually mentions that the church is holding auditions for a traveling troupe. This is Pearl's big chance to get away from the farm and follow her dreams. Pearl is excited, but Ruth isn't pleased with the idea. She doesn't believe in Pearl's dreams and only sees it as trouble. Later, Pearl sits down for dinner with her parents, and Ruth doesn't hold back. She keeps criticizing Pearl, calling her ungrateful, and reminding her of all the hard work she has to do. Pearl starts to feel trapped, like there's no way out. In a dark moment, she even thinks about ending her father's life, thinking it might make things easier for everyone. But it's a sad and scary thought, showing just how much pressure she feels. Pearl goes back to the theater, eager to meet the projectionist again. This time he shows her an unreleased film called A Free Ride, which is one of the first adult films ever made. The projectionist tells her that films like this will change the movie industry forever. As they talk, Pearl opens up about her dreams and how she wants to be more than just a farm girl. She explains that her parents hold her back from reaching her goals. In a moment of frustration, Pearl accidentally blurts out that she wishes her parents were dead, but quickly tries to take it back. Embarrassed, the projectionist listens carefully and encourages Pearl to follow her dreams no matter what. He believes that she has what it takes to be more than just what her family wants her to be. His words give Pearl hope, but also make her feel more torn between her dreams and the life she feels stuck in. During dinner one evening, Ruth pulls out a pamphlet she found in Pearl's things. She knows that Pearl wants to audition for the traveling troupe. Ruth is furious, and once again she shuts down Pearl's dreams, telling her how she was forced to take care of her sick husband and how nobody would ever want someone like Pearl. Ruth cruelly points out that Pearl has strange tendencies, like killing small animals, and says no one would ever accept her. The argument gets heated fast, with Pearl screaming at her mother in anger. In the heat of the moment, the two slap each other. The tension builds, and in a wild burst of frustration, Pearl shoves Ruth toward the fireplace. Ruth's clothes catch fire, and she goes up in flames. In panic, Pearl throws boiling water onto her mother to put out the fire, but it's too late. Ruth is barely alive. Pearl drags her mother, who is barely conscious, down to the basement. Afterward, Pearl rushes back to the theater, trying to escape everything that just happened. She finds comfort with the projectionist and falls asleep next to him, trying to forget the chaos she left behind. The next day, Pearl gets ready for her big audition. The projectionist drives her home, but when they arrive, he notices something's wrong. The kitchen is a mess, and Pearl's father is sitting alone, looking lost. Then, they hear a strange thumping sound coming from the basement. Pearl quickly says it's just her dog, but when they walk around the back to the barn, she accidentally admits she doesn't have a dog. The projectionist starts to feel uneasy, sensing that something is off. He politely tries to leave, but Pearl gets upset. She believes he's rejecting her and that he won't take her away from the farm. As the projectionist tries to walk away, Pearl's anger takes over. In a fit of rage, she grabs a pitchfork and stabs him twice. She watches as his car rolls into the lake, where Theta, the alligator, waits to feast on his body. With the projectionist gone, Pearl turns her focus back to her mother. She pushes Ruth down the stairs and then goes upstairs to smother her father with a blanket, ending his suffering once and for all. It's a dark and twisted moment in Pearl's journey, where she takes control of her fate in the most violent way. Pearl gets dressed in a beautiful red dress and heads to the audition with Mitzi. When they arrive, they see another girl crying because she was rejected. Pearl feels nervous but steps up to perform right before Mitzi. She imagines herself on a grand stage, dancing in a dramatic routine set in a war scene. As she dances, she pours all her hopes and dreams into the performance, but when she finishes, the judges tell her she's not what they're looking for. In her mind, the judges start to turn into her parents, the projectionist, and even her husband, Howard. Pearl begs them for another chance, desperately insisting that she has what it takes. But one judge coldly replies, "We're looking for someone younger, blonde, and with the X factor." This rejection shatters Pearl. She starts wailing, unable to hold in her tears anymore. She breaks down completely outside the audition room. Mitzi comes over to comfort her, trying to calm her down, but Pearl's heart is broken. It's a tough moment for her, where her dreams feel out of reach and the harsh reality of her situation hits her hard. Mitzi helps Pearl back home, but when they arrive, they find the rotting pig outside, its body being eaten by maggots. The sight is disturbing and makes Pearl feel even worse. Inside, they sit down at the kitchen table, and Mitzi tries to calm Pearl down. She suggests that Pearl vent her feelings, almost as if she's talking to Howard. Pearl begins to speak from the heart, letting out all her anger. She starts by talking about how much she resents Howard for leaving to fight in the war. Pearl knew he came from somewhere far away, and she had hoped he could take her away from the farm to a better life. Then, Pearl admits something even darker. She had an affair with the projectionist. She goes on to confess that she killed her parents and the projectionist, but she adds that she regrets what she did to her father, feeling guilty for taking his life. After Pearl finishes pouring out her emotions, Mitzi begins to stand up and walk away. Pearl tries to congratulate her, thinking Mitzi got the part in the troupe, but Mitzi denies it, saying she didn't get it. Pearl, in disbelief, tells her that she's lying. Finally, Mitzi admits that she lied. She didn't get the part, but she did it to leave the farm. As Mitzi starts to leave, Pearl follows her, grabbing an axe. Mitzi tries to run and scream for help, but Pearl is faster. In a shocking moment, Pearl swings the axe, ending Mitzi's life right there in the doorway. It's a horrible act of violence, and Pearl's journey into darkness seems almost complete. Pearl, filled with a strange calmness, begins to take apart Mitzi's body. She feeds the remains to Theta, the alligator, in the lake. After that, Pearl walks down to the basement. She finds where Ruth had tried to crawl up the stairs before she died. In her mind, Pearl imagines Ruth looking healthy again, smiling, and telling her she loves her, something Pearl always wished to hear. Feeling a mix of emotions, Pearl takes her parents' lifeless bodies and places them at the dining table. She even sets the rotting pig next to them. Pearl then sits down and pretends to have a peaceful dinner with them, talking to them as if nothing bad had ever happened. It's a twisted, surreal moment where Pearl tries to hold on to the idea of family, even though everything has crumbled around her. Howard finally returns home from the war, tired and hoping for peace. When he enters the house, he is shocked by the horrifying sight in front of him. His eyes go wide as he takes in the gruesome scene. Pearl steps out from the shadows and, with a shaky voice, tells Howard she's so happy to see him. She tries to smile, but it's forced and painful. The smile doesn't feel real, and her eyes fill with tears. As the credits start to roll, Pearl holds that smile, but her tears keep flowing down her face. It's a sad and haunting moment, showing how much is broken inside her. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our fun recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. produced by Warner Talks.